So last week, my team... teammate Joseph decided he wanted to become impact. I don't think this will be an issue for everyone, but if you feel like you are susceptible to this, then I would slightly veer away from the Mac. I'd say that Apple, generally, just doesn't like their keyboards to be in any way at all squishy, so they make it quite a sharp, clicky key press with minimal cushioning. That makes it nicer to use, it's more satisfying than the noticeable springiness that you get in the Dell's keyboard, but it is also conducive to more hand strain if you're going to spend a long time typing. To be honest, either way, if you use your laptop at home, then you're better off just going for a proper ergonomic mouse and keyboard, like this stuff is from the Logitech Ergo range. Because clawing your hand around a trackpad all day is also not the best for you. But if you had to, then between these two, just like the keyboards, Apple's trackpad is the nicer one to use. Now don't get me wrong, it's great that Windows has caught up a lot when it comes to how you can use your trackpad to fluidly interact with your machine, but there's something that feels really satisfying and intentional about the Mac click, which the Dell just doesn't have. It feels like a dull, hollow press with a hint of something loose inside. So it's pretty neck and neck so far. A couple more hardware comparisons before we get into the juicy software comparisons. Okay, one thing that you can be sure of on any current Mac system is that the speakers will not be bad. I mean, the ones on my 16-inch MacBook Pro are easily some of the best laptop speakers on the market. And the ones on this Air, they're not as good, but they're also not far off. It doesn't have any massive speaker grills like the Dell does, and all the sound comes out of this gap here, so it's actually being bounced off the screen towards you as opposed to coming directly at you. But it is a 6-speaker sound system compared to the Dell's quad speaker, and listen to the difference.
2021 has been an unbelievable ride for the Mr. Who's the Boss channel. I'm still in physical shock at what we've managed to do this year.
It sounds pretty good, and it feels like the audio has space because of the fact that you have larger speaker grills, but the first thing I noticed when I listened to that is that my voice doesn't sound how it should sound. So this is the Mac.
2021 has been an unbelievable ride for the Mr. Who's the Boss channel. I'm still in physical shock at what we've managed to do this year.
Okay, so you might have been able to hear here that the audio feels a little more cramped, but the tuning of my voice feels spot on. And also it's just a little cleaner. Now, whether that's the fact that this whole laptop is made of aluminium and therefore there's less micro vibrations to disrupt the intended sound, or just an audio algorithm on Apple's end, I gotta hand it to them in that the result speaks for itself. Okay, so we've just looked it up, and Microsoft's YouTube channel is on 1.12 million subscribers, which means they're getting absolutely smashed by Apple, just like we are. But we're actually gaining on them. So if you want to help us get there, then a sub to the channel would be delightful. But maybe the biggest hardware question of them all is performance. If you spend the same amount of money on Mac or Windows, which one actually gets you the faster machine? And it's a more confusing question than it's ever been before, because Apple doesn't use off-the-shelf parts anymore. There used to be a day where Macs and Windows would both have the same Intel processors and the same Nvidia or AMD graphics, and life was easy. But almost everything Apple uses now is custom. That said, I don't think it's a stretch to say that on the spec front, Windows feels like a clear winner. I mean, you have a 13th gen Intel Core i7, which has 14 cores and can go all the way up to 5 GHz compared to just 8 CPU cores that can go up to 3.5. You get 16 GB of RAM compared to 8, plus 1 TB of solid-state storage, which is again double what you're getting on the Air for the same price. And providing that you're in applications that can take advantage of that power, you'll see the difference. Like, open up a CPU benchmarking app like Geekbench, and you can very clearly see a 35% higher multi-core score. Dive into a storage speed test, and the SSD in the Dell will come out on top. Only slightly though. And running a game. Even though this Dell is using Intel's own graphics, which are not the best, you'll get like 20% higher frames per second. So that should be it, right? Windows takes it away. Well, the numbers aren't the full story. For the vast majority of your day-to-day tasks, we are long past the point where the limiting factor is your hardware. It's all about the software. And the perk of Apple making their own chips is that they can build software around that hardware. So if you do your work, or you can do your work with Apple apps like Pages and Keynote and Safari, some coding platforms and editing ones like Final Cut, those Apple apps will perform extremely well on the M2 Apple chip that this thing has. Actually, better than any Windows counterpart. Because Dell doesn't have any say at all about how programs are specifically optimized for the selection of hardware that it chooses. And the biggest part of this, which flies so far under the radar, is that because the power requirements of Apple's hardware are so much lower, it stays fast when you take the cable out. Windows laptops? Not so much. As a matter of fact, just unplugging this cable without changing any of the power management settings turns a 35% performance win into a 40% loss. And on a laptop whose entire purpose is to be portable, that's a big deal. So I'll call this overall very broad performance category a draw. And that's a good segue to the overall efficiency of this thing. This Mac is silent. It doesn't have a fan because these Apple-made chips, the M2 in this case, are based on phone chips, which have had even less room for cooling than laptops. They allow the MacBook to boot up almost instantly, and the battery. Battery life is the single biggest advantage that Macs in 2023 have over Windows. I mean, to give you an idea, an average high-end Windows laptop might get you 5 hours of browsing the internet. This Dell will actually be above average. It'll get you 7 or so. The 15-inch MacBook Air can pump out 10 to 12. And because the Windows laptops also have to have so much larger batteries to even try and keep up, they're bulkier and it takes longer to charge them. So we talked about this Apple brick. This is a 30-watt charger, which is not by any stretch of the imagination generous from Apple. I mean, I've got phone chargers with 3 times the wattage. But still, this thing can fully charge the MacBook in 140 minutes. There's an optional 70-watt brick that can do it in 80. But the Dell, even with all of this, which is like bigger than Milo's face, takes about 150, which puts it very behind overall in the efficiency category. But okay, it's time to shift gears to the software. So the Mac is running macOS Ventura, Dell is on Windows 11, both will do the same core computer things, but just with each having a couple of their own clear perks. If you're used to Mac, it never really feels lacking, but Windows is the one if you're someone who really wants to get into the guts of your system to make it yours. You want themes? Easy. You want a Legend of Zelda wallpaper that reacts depending on where you hover your mouse? Sure. You want to make it look like a Mac? You can do that too on Windows. So Windows takes the customization point, just with the slight caveat that I think out the box, without any customization, macOS is the prettier one. I guess the one upside of a lack of customization is order. Like, the File Explorer feels less cluttered. Apps have more design consistency because Apple forces them to all work in a certain way if they want to be on Mac. And there's a very clear priority on animations, which makes the Mac feel less like a tool, more like an experience. The other upside to this control? Stability. The fact that Windows is made for everyone, from the extreme gamer with their colossal $20,000 rig to the person who just wants to make their TV smart with a literal stick the size of a finger, means that there's just a lot of rooms to encounter unexpected problems. Not to mention that Apple authors a lot more of the experience, whereas on Windows you have to rely on third-party developers making their own drivers, which tell your computer how the hardware should interact with the software, and they get it wrong. And then the cherry on top for all this control is that Macs are harder to penetrate. with viruses. They're not invulnerable, like I've heard a lot of people say, but there is less malware out there for them. Because, I mean, if you're a hacker, you're going to want to build your hacking tools to target the operating system that has the most number of users, so Windows. And because Windows is so widespread across countries and versions and devices, it naturally has more vulnerabilities for hackers to exploit. Speed is a bit of a weird one, in that on one hand, this is where you really feel the benefit of an operating system that lets you do whatever you want. Like with Windows, the fact that you can snap Windows into full screen and half screen is so much quicker than on Mac, where Apple's basically just said no. And instead, you're left there fiddling with your windows manually until they're exactly 50-50. But on the other hand, the lack of customization on Macs allows for more optimization. The software feels like less of a burden on them than Windows can, and they tend to be able to perform better with equivalent hardware compared to Windows. Plus, they age better. You tend to find that Windows computers get very clogged up over time with the mountains of Windows updates that they chuck at you, and the file fragmentation that occurs as you install more and more programs. Macs do also slow down to some extent, as new updates introduce new complexities, but it's not been nearly as noticeable in my experience. Here's the key thing that I'd say it boils down to though. Well, actually first, you can't get a new Mac for anything less than $1,000 or so up until that price, Windows is your answer by default. But then between $1,000 and $2,000, I think the Mac, as a general light computing device, feels like a more luxurious experience than an equivalently priced Windows, in that I think Apple prioritizes the little things that add up, like the sound and the feel of the trackpad, the stellar hardware construction, and Apple also optimizes its own apps in a way that Windows hasn't yet found a way to compete with. But the Mac lacks compatibility. This is the single biggest redeeming quality of Windows. Compatibility with a lot of work programs, especially those involving servers, and also games. If you want to game in any serious capacity on your computer, the choice is made for you. You'd instead use this £1,600 to specifically buy a Windows gaming laptop, like this ROG Strix. You'd sacrifice a little on the sleekness of the XPS or the Mac, as well as the color accuracy of the screen, but you'd get a bucket load of RGB and a graphics card that's almost 4 times more powerful than the one on the Mac, so you can run the same games in much higher settings. So, overall then, the scores are in. The Mac has more points, but obviously different categories are worth different amounts. So for you, which is the winner?
Well, I think the scoreboard doesn't lie, right? And the Mac won in all the areas I care about, and there's nothing that I need that's Windows exclusive. So I think I should crack on with the Mac.
Right now?
Right now.
Okay. I apologize for the last 15 minutes of editing. Whichever one you end up going for in the end, one tool you should definitely set up is Guardio. No word of a lie, just today, I've had 50 spam phishing emails, and if I so much as click on one bad link within them, that's enough for someone to gain access to my accounts and my data. So Guardio is a browser extension and a mobile app that acts like a digital shield looking over you. It scans all links before you click them, it scans all files before you download them, it traces the source of all the intrusive notifications you're getting to make sure they're not actually coming from viruses, and it can clear them from the source. As soon as you install it, it'll run an initial scan, it'll show you what threats you already have, and then as soon as you start your 7-day trial, it'll remove them. But it's really the ongoing protection that's the key thing, given that scammers are reinventing themselves every single day, and that genuine malware is now lurking in legitimate places like Google Ads. And what I like about Guardio is that it's very much an all-in-one solution. It tells you if a site you're about to click on is legit or not. It'll alert you in real time once your data leaks online so that you can change your passwords immediately. They have a cross-device feature that alerts you in real time when a malicious email bypasses your spam folder. And they're now offering us a 7-day trial and 20% off the already super affordable price of subscription for one Guardio account that covers 5 users. And that will auto-apply if you head to guard.io/boss. Nailed it.
How do I download Final Cut Pro?
Prepare yourself for 19 of the most tragic, toxic tech fails of all time, from straight up bad ideas to some of the most malignant, harmful products to have ever existed. Number 1 is an absolute travesty. So number 19, you know how...
My goodness, yeah, well, this is an awfully large number of jagged eggs. I don't know how long...
Welcome back to Timber Bonners, the only beaver soap that has its own theme tune. This is season 6, episode 2, and now they've been delivered. I hope you're watching with your beaver plushie. They add to the immersion. Yes, hello fellow engineers, and welcome back to Timber Borders. We are taking on the smallest map in the game and the hardest difficulty in the game, which means I should probably pause and check exactly where I got to last time before we get too far and die. Because we wouldn't want that to happen while our little beaver friends are watching. Yeah, some of the makeshift plushies have now arrived. So hopefully, if you did order one, you'll be watching this with yours. Anyway, yeah, at the end of the last episode, I did get a little bit cocky. And I feel like I should probably try and focus on expanding like the water storage. Probably the size of our farm area as well. I mean, since we're going to be a bit cramped for space, I should probably look at trying to make more efficient food, because I think, yeah, if I get a fermenter, then I can turn some of those foods into like more useful food. Oh, I'll tell you what, the bottom one, 4 mushrooms turns to 6 mushroom food if I can ferment it. I think I need this to get mushrooms, which requires, oh man, it requires like every resource known to man. Steel bars, gears, wooden planks, and I haven't unlocked any of those yet. Okay, where did we get to? We had the beaver grinding his teeth because he broke them. That's Klishnikov. But they're fixed now, so you can continue chopping down trees. Oh, wait, who's that? Who is that? Little baby Sleasley, just been born and is now age 0. Oh, by the way, did anyone get the clue from last time for my little riddle? The answer was 1. So that is what this district will be called. Just 1. Anyway, you have no trees to chop down. Who's that? Kingly named engineer. Yeah, so we're going to pause you for now. What have you just been promoted to? Oh, log pumper. That is what we like to see in this series. Lots of wood pumping. Anyway, we've got 2 beavers working the farms. That seems to be going pretty well. Yeah, the breeding pod is up and running again, so that is also good. Yeah, so the forester, we've put all the logs in. We need to work on the planks. So we need 7 planks, and I did build this last time, the industrial lumber mill. Now the trouble is this requires power, and because I'm trying to save space with all of this area, because that's the only area of green, so I need to grow on all the green I can, I think. Hence, we will not be using water wheels. We unfortunately need to shame a beaver. And oh, for some reason, Kingly named engineer has volunteered to be the first shamed beaver. Okay, well, let's unpause that then. We'll up the priority. Okay, so 2 beavers are going to go in there. Okay, so in the morning, which is, there's a few hours remaining, we should start making planks. So I hope you don't spend the evening in the pub, guys, because you're going to have to wake up early. By the way, I'm a little bit concerned about this beaver. Baby Sleazy has just slept since he's been born. I mean, he is homeless. Everyone else lives in here, the barracks, but there's no room for a 0-year-old little baby beaver. So yeah, I will build another barracks at one point. The trouble is well, you can see there's pretty much no trees left on the map. We've chopped them all down. So we really need to get this built. So I've had to up the priority of these 2 so that we always have jobs. So here is Kingly named engineer who sleeping on the street, and now he's going to get shamed. I'm not sure why you're being shamed, but you're actually quite a good beaver volunteering yourself. But yeah, they're providing power to this building, which hopefully means we will get some planks on the go. And then we can get the forester down and build some more trees, because at the moment, we've only got 4 logs. Not ideal. Anyway, we have our first plank, so that is good. So if we come down to this forester, yeah, you can see they are being put in there. So if we just fast forward time, we should be pretty good. As I said before, though, I need to be a bit careful about the water situation, because the last dry season was pretty brutal. It was very, very long, and they're only going to get longer. Now, unfortunately, as with everything, it requires logs to build, 15 of them. I'd like to get a medium tank, but that takes 30 planks as well as 20 gears, and I'm not making gears at all yet, so I think that's a way off. We're gonna have to stick with the small tanks for quite a while. Now, what I might do, perhaps add some water down there, like the storage, because I feel like this area is mostly going to be industrial and they're all going to be connected together. So I'll plop those there. Oh, anyway, slow down the time, because look, we have the forester, Tony Mont 4 and 4. We need you to get some trees planted. So what I'm thinking, I don't think it's worth growing birch trees, because in 9 days you get 1 log from them. Whereas like a pine, in 12 days, just a little bit longer, you get 2 logs. I mean, the oak is 30 days for 8 logs. That is the dream. Let's get a load of birch down here. I know I said no birch, but do as I say, not as I do. I mean, I probably should have shoved them this side, really, but this is where the oaks are going to go. So that's quite a lot of trees that are going to be planted. I'm going to tell the forester, prioritize the birch, because then we've got wood quicker. And then hopefully I can just have this bottom corner from the trees, and up here I can do more food. And then, to be honest, I may actually need more food. I don't think the kohlrabis are doing it. So if I were to shove another farmhouse, and is there another food I can eat raw? No, I'll need a fermenter. Shove a fermenter up there. Tell it to make fermented cassavas, but low prioritize this. Then we can plant a strip of cassavas. Okay, so that is a huge planting area. That is good. Now I've got a few planks on me as well. I've got 8 planks. Let's get some steps on the go. I reckon let's get up to these logs. So wooden stairs, we'll unlock those for 70 science. Then with a lumberjack flag up there, we can chop these trees down. Want to say chop them down. Right, and then, oh no, 3 days till the drought is incoming. I feel like we should try and get some more water storage. So I've paused these. We're not making any more planks, but we have no logs remaining. Let's pause you, Labradog. And if we unpause one of these, that's a few trees that have grown down here, which means we should get some more logs, which hopefully means we'll build these water storages. But honestly, who knows? Who knows? We are out of kohlrabis as well. That's not
Yeah.
good. Where's the farming beavers? Farmer Envoy Extreme. What are you... Oh, he's planting over that side. Okay, what I might want to say to those guys, prioritize harvesting, just because you got loads of kohlrabis up here. We are sort of slacking on food, though. I mean, they are collecting them now, but I think it's probably worth unpausing these gatherer flags. So Labradog and Kingly Named Engineer, there and there, they should gather all those berries, which is good. And hopefully we'll be prepared for the next dry season. I'm a bit worried how long it's going to last. Oh, whoa. Stop. No. Scientist Nate died of old age. Oh, what? He was a resident scientist. Oh, the inventor hut sits empty. We're currently not making any science. We've only got 15. Scientist Nate. Oh, that is absolutely devastating. I didn't even notice. I hope that wasn't on screen and like everyone's seen it apart from me. There's like little beaver plushies watching. Oh, hang on. I think the berry storage is full. Yeah, completely full of berries. Perhaps I'll change the kohlrabis one to store berries, because like there's like no kohlrabis to store. I should probably swap that one to the kohlrabis just in case we do get enough that we can store them. How's the log situation? There's a tree here that can be cut down. Who's on that? Klishnikov, where are you, mate? Here he is. He's on it. Get your teeth stuck into that log. Nice one. Oh, there's also loads of birch over this side. Okay, I think we might be okay to build a few of these water storages. The trouble is I need them built like now, because our water storage is completely full. Tell you what then, let's get another lumberjack flag on the go down here. And then you can see we've got 1 day remaining. We need to chop these trees down fast, which means we need more logs, which means we need the staircase built. Right, beavers are carrying logs about, so hopefully this staircase will be made and we can chop these oaks down. Oh no, someone else died of old age. Brandon Riley. How old did the beavers actually get to? I feel like they're not that old. Worth noting, though, we did have another birth. Chris, welcome to the colony, matey. In case you're wondering, they're all named after my patrons, and I'm working through, like, from the top tiers down to the lower tiers. Right, okay, good news. We have the stairs in. Let's super high prioritize that. Peter Schmolfeld, pretty sure I pronounced the name right. They're going to go chop some of those down. So I can probably... Yeah, there's no more trees down here. So Sleasley, you're fired. You sat on your butt down there. You are also fired. Oh, look, we have a water storage. That is good. The next one, they are bringing logs over as they're being chopped down. I probably should get another lumberjack flag up there. Super high prioritize, because this little beaver here, Peter, he's chopping those big old oaks down all on his own. Right, okay, we got 2 beavers chopping down the logs. Let's super high prioritize this. I also need to high prioritize these log pumpers. We only had 1 log pumper. That was actually schoolboy error. Thankfully, though, they're pretty full. Yeah, they're completely full. Although it's literally the end of the day. Oh, no. That is it. That is it. It's the last working day before the dry season. As the sun rises, you'll see the drought has started. There is no more water up there. But the dry season's going to be 6 days long. That is quite a long time to go without water. But yeah, one other thing I sort of forgot about. The range from this forester, it only reaches down to that corner. That's why he hasn't been planting anything. All these trees over this side, they can't get planted by that forester. Oh, that's really silly, Matt. I'm gonna have to build another forester over this side. Oh.
What? Why?